On February 9, 2018, PyeongChang Stadium, South Korea, the Winter Olympic Game was just about to start. 93 countries participated, with 35,000 people in attendance. But just before the ceremony, computers and screens at the stadium suddenly went offline. Wi-Fi stopped working, and ticket scanning failed. IT support staff inside the stadium couldn't log into systems, and chaos began. Around 8 p.m., a man named Sanjin-o sat in a row wearing a grey and red Olympic jacket. It was freezing around -5 degrees, feeling closer to -10 degrees Celsius with wind chill. The open roof stadium had everyone bundled in thick coats, blankets, and heating pads. Just in front of reporters and photographers were ready to cover the event. A vast chain of computer networks had been set up to support the entire stadium, including ticket counters, Wi-Fi, and giant screens. All of it was controlled by a team of IT experts working about 30 minutes away from the venue. The organizing committee had hired over 1,000 IT professionals to set up the event's tech infrastructure, spending $109 million to build the stadium, specifically for the Olympic event. Suddenly, the systems for result processing, broadcasting, and security cameras went dark. As the blackout spread, it became clear this was no ordinary disruption. The Gangneung team urgently contacted to the Seoul data center, located around 138 miles from the operations center. All the backbone of the Olympics digital infrastructure, including Olympic servers, ticketing databases, and websites, was stored there. This day was the most important moment of Sanjin-o's career. He was a 47-year-old director of technology who had been preparing for this event for 3 years. He had seen thousands of computers, mobile devices, routers, and servers in 2 Seoul data centers before, and this time everything seemed to be functioning correctly. When the lights darkened on the stage, the crowd paused, and their phone screens began glowing like fireflies throughout the stadium. 10 seconds before 8 p.m., Note Samsung Galaxy Note 8 suddenly lights up. He receives a Kakao Talk ping from a subordinate. One line of text, enough to drain the blood from his face.
Every domain controller in the Seoul data centers is going down.
The backbone of the Olympics IT network was snapping in real time. Half an hour earlier, he had been warned of a nagging glitch traced to a contractor supplying 100 rented servers for the Olympics. He thought it was just a normal issue from the contractor's side, but he had no idea that a malicious program had already entered their servers, one capable of sabotaging the entire Olympic Games. Now, reports around him started coming in. The Wi-Fi had stopped working. All ticketing was managed via the official Olympic app, which suddenly stopped responding. Thousands of internet-linked TVs displaying the ceremony around the stadium and 12 other Olympic facilities went black. Building security gates, which used RFID-based systems, were also down. Immediately stood up from the crowd and headed toward the operations center with 2 other IT staffers in a Hyundai SUV. His head was burning with urgency. In just 2 hours, the opening ceremony would end, and thousands of athletes, visiting celebrities, and spectators would discover that there was no Wi-Fi, no Olympic app, and no hotel or map information. If they couldn't fix the servers by the next morning, the entire IT team responsible for everything from meals and hotels to ticketing would be dead in the water as the games began. A tech meltdown unlike anything in Olympic history in one of the world's most wired nations. He reached the operations center by 9 p.m., where 150 staffers were anxiously discussing how to respond to the cyber attack. Not only had computers failed, but their basic email and messaging services had been locked out. He looked at the wall of screens, glitching as malware spread rapidly through the network. All 9 domain controllers, the brains of Olympic network, were dead, locking out every system. In a desperate move, a staff rerouted the few surviving servers to bypass the fallen gatekeepers. Wi-Fi and stadium's TV flickered back to life just minutes before the ceremony ended. For 2 hours, engineers tried to rebuild the domain controllers and restore a secure network, but each time the servers collapsed again. Some unseen intruder was still inside, breaking them faster than they could be fixed. Minutes before midnight, O made the call.
Cut the Olympics off from the internet.
Every service, even the public website, went dark as they tried to flush out the unseen saboteur. All night, the team rebuilt the game's digital nervous system. Eventually, by 5 am, Korean security firm NLab had crafted an antivirus software to hunt the malware. A file innocuously named winlogon.exe. At 6:30 am, passwords were reset. By 8, backups were restored, and every service flickered back to life.
Squeeze through.
Skating and ski jumping went on with barely a hiccup. Robots roamed the venues, vacuuming floor and delivering water. Reporters called the games impeccably organized. The athletes and millions watching had no idea that Olympic staff had spent the whole night fighting an invisible enemy that had threatened to throw the entire event into chaos.
Olympic officials have confirmed that a cyber attack took place during the opening ceremony for the PyeongChang Games. According to Reuters, organizers say the attack was mainly on TV and internet access, and in some cases, it lasted for 12 hours.
2 days later, the organizing committee confirmed that the games had been target of a cyber attack. However, they refused to reveal who was behind the attack. The attack instantly became an international whodunit. Who dare sabotage the Olympics? Accusing a nation of a cyber attack without concrete evidence is highly irresponsible, particularly when there are no credible leads, no identified suspects, and no understanding of who may be operating behind the layers of proxies, potentially launching another attack elsewhere at the same time. In cases like this, investigators turn to a different kind of detective work, scrutinizing lines of code, tracing digital links, and mapping political motives in the hopes of identifying who's behind the attack. Igor Sumenkov, an expert in malware analysis and file headers, worked late nights at Kaspersky Research Center in Moscow. When he examined the metadata in the Olympic destroyer malware, it appeared to match North Korean code linked to the Lazarus group, a discovery that suggested Pyongyang's involvement. But Igor noticed something odd. The North Korean fingerprints were forged. Someone had planted fake clues. This was the first probable false flag in the attack, a deliberate attempt to frame North Korea, and just like that, Pyongyang was off the suspect list. Shortly after the incident, cybersecurity firm FireEye, headquartered in Milpitas, California, joined the hunt. Threat researcher Michael Matonis, a forensic and malware specialist, discovered malware-laced Word documents connected to the attack through a public database called VirusTotal. He linked the operation to the past Russian campaigns, including the US election interference and NotPetya malware outbreak. Private firms like Cisco Talos and CrowdStrike mapped code overlaps, while South Korean and US intelligence agencies compared them with years of classified threat data. But the puzzle was too perfect. Too many culprits in one picture. It wasn't just one false flag. There were layers of them pointing to North Korea, China, Russia, even the possibility of an Olympic insider. Some clues were buried deeper than anything analysts had seen before. FireEye didn't name its client, but their findings are used by governments, corporations, and infrastructure defenders worldwide. In South Korea, the default suspect in any cyber attack is North Korea. The regime has spent years of needling its southern neighbor with missile tests and digital harassment. Months before the games, McAfee had even warned that Korean-speaking hackers were targeting Olympic staff with phishing and spyware. But in early 2018, North Korea was on a charm offensive. Kim Jong-un sent his sister to PyeongChang as an emissary, invited South Korea's president to Pyongyang, and even merged the two nations' women's hockey team. Why sabotage a goodwill campaign? Then there was Russia. Banned from competing under its own flag because of a doping scandal, the Kremlin had every reason to lash out. Its state-backed hackers like Fancifear had been targeting Olympic organizations for years. If Russia couldn't celebrate the games, perhaps no one would. 3 days after the opening ceremony, Cisco's Talos team spotted familiar tactics from past Russian attacks: password theft, window network spreading, and data wiping. They even found traces of Russian ransomware. But the malware wasn't an exact match to earlier tools. Its component had been rebuilt or copied. Days before the ceremony, Moscow dismissed all claims of involvement as pseudo-investigations. But when the attack hit, some clues pointed directly to Russia and others pointed elsewhere. Matoni stressed the attack's infrastructure back to Russian military operations, Ukraine's power grid blackouts, the NotPetya war, and even the 2016 US election hacks. US intelligence agencies, including NSA and CIA, reached the same conclusion. The attack was the work of GRU Unit 74455, Russia's military cyber unit. Known as Chernom, this group goes by many names: APT-44, Televots, Vodopier, Iridium, Sea-Cell Blizzard, and Iron Viking. In October 2020, a US grand jury indicted 6 GRU officers for the Olympic destroyer attack and other major cyber operations. But an indictment is not a conviction. None of the accused faced trial because all were Russian, and Russia did not extradite its citizens. The charges still stand mainly as public accusations, naming the suspects, detailing their actions, and ensuring they risk arrest if they ever travel abroad.